before you joined us, I was talking about Trent Sisley, one of Indiana and Purdue's top recruiting battles, is heading to Montverde University or Academy for his senior year. And while that's a smart move for Trent, it's the best move for Trent. It will help Trent.
Why do you tell me that? Why is it a smart move and the best move?
Because currently in his situation, he plays for a small school in which he has to play out of position, has to play center. He's getting double and triple teamed. He can't work on his game. It's not what he'll be doing in college. And it just seems to keep him fenced in and able to do anything. And again, he's having to play center the whole time, which is not what he'll be doing in college. So it's prevented him from expanding what he can do like he does in the AAU circuit. But it also, I think it's also hurt him when you compare him to some of his peers who have really shot up the rankings boards while Trent has not, although he has still had an outstanding summer scoring. He does it all. When he had some team camps at Indiana not too long ago, his high school team, he had half of the points, including the game-winning shot. And again, it's just everything is laying on him. And I think that, and knowing what goes on at Montverde with Kevin Boyle and how they run things, he will get to do exactly what it will be, a lot more like it will be in college. It will be running his position. But I'm not saying it's perfect. I know that the downside is it's another kid that the state of Indiana loses that won't be eligible for Mr. Basketball or the All-Star Series now. And I hate seeing that talent go away, like Jalen Harrelson. Can you imagine the Indiana All-Star team next year that would have had Trent Sisley and Jalen Harrelson on it, but they won't be on it?
Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, let me hit what you did at the end there. Excluding him from the All-Star Series is ridiculous. It's preposterous. He's an Indiana kid. He's not going to be not an Indiana kid because he spends a winter in Florida. That's a shame. And it's indefensible. It's one of those stupid rules that's indefensible along the lines of you have to have a 600 winning percentage to get into the College Football Hall of Fame. Like, who made these rules? Why do they exist? Trent Sisley is as Indiana as Damon Bailey was. Just he happened to spend, Damon happened to be in the right place at the right time, high school wise. He had a terrific team around him and he lifted everybody and they had a great state and all that. But for Trent, maybe that's not the circumstance. So that's one thing. The second thing, look, there are pluses and minuses to what he's doing. The plus is that he's at least going to Montverde, which has a terrific coach in Kevin Boyle. So he's not de-escalating in that. There are elite prep schools out there where that's a problem, where you're not going to a equivalent or better coach, that you're going and you're playing more ball where you're not really all that well structured and all that well trained. That's a problem in a lot of the elite prep ball. The problem that I worry about, Jim, with Trent and any young player who goes this route, and it's become more and more common. I mean, you're looking at the top players, very few of them, or a very small percentage now, are playing for their original high schools, traditional high schools. They're playing, so many of them now play for the elite prep schools. And I think that what we're doing here is we are taking players who need to learn how to be great. Being dominant is a skill. It's one of the most important skills in basketball. The other night, after the second round of the NBA draft, Adrian Wojnarowski, my friend from ESPN, talked about that as an issue in basketball. And he talked about a lot of different things, going away from very capable, if not outstanding, high school coaches in favor of going to play at these elite prep schools. And he talked about some of those problems of getting away from that coaching. And as I mentioned, some of the elite prep schools don't have great coaching. And I saw that, and I said, and it was on Twitter, and I sort of amplified it by saying my biggest concern is that's a problem. But my biggest concern is that the best young American players go and learn to be role players. That's like, why are you learning to be a role player when you're 16 or 17? You should be learning to be a role player at the earliest when you get to college, and sometimes not even then. I mean, Steph Curry, one of the reasons Steph Curry became the Steph Curry is that he never had to be a role player. He was a star in high school, a star in college. He became a big star in college, and then he goes to Golden State and eventually builds himself into a star at the NBA level. He knew what it was, what it required. Almost everybody in the NBA is eventually going to be a role player. Almost everybody. There are only so many Stephs and LeBrons and KDs and et cetera, D Wades. There's only so many of those guys. But if you are already sort of opting out of the pursuit of greatness when you're 17, you're never going to get there.
Yeah, it's sad, but it's becoming a little more prevalent in the sport now, even in football. But it's more noticeable, I think, in basketball because the numbers are smaller and all of that. And you know, he was it at Heritage Hills. He was the draw. So I feel bad for them, but again, he's got to do what's in his best interest. And I think that was a decision. I know that this was a hard decision for the family because his dad is a teacher at the school. They are very, very much involved in that community. His brother played there. As a matter of fact, he broke his brother's rebounding record in his junior year. And I think he's also the scoring leader, maybe. So he'll leave there as the scoring and rebounding leader after just 3 years. And I was in high school, as we all were. I remember how much fun it was. I was a football player, so I wasn't good enough to play basketball for our school. But I remember how much fun it was to be a part of that. Sectionals and regionals and all of that. It was a blast. And that's such a great part of the high school experience. And I know that is the same for the players. Those are great memories. And he'll have different memories, but you only go to high school once. And there's mixed feelings for me on it. But at the end of the day, it's not me. It's not my future. And I understand that if someone feels that this is what's best for them, then who am I, to ever question that? But I understand a lot of it.
It is their decision, but I just in a generic sense, taking Trent out of it and just using the generic concept, you get enough of that, of playing against higher level competition, against better players, with better players in the AAU circuit, that you don't necessarily need to do the high school thing and feel like you're falling behind. Look, you're not falling behind anybody when you look at some of the rankings and see how the players are performing that come out in the ranks. Donovan Clingan went 7th in the NBA draft. He was like 53rd in his high school class. The rankings don't mean anything now. They have never meant less. The performances of the highest ranked players are so out of line with the ratings themselves right now that they've never meant less. You look at UConn's championship team and Purdue, who played them in the championship game. How many McDonald's All-Americans were on the floor in that entire game? How many top 25, top 30 recruits were on the floor? And you look again at the NBA draft, and you don't see it reflected all that well there, or else we wouldn't have had so many international players play. So I'm not worried about rankings. I'm just worried about development. And if you're getting offered by the best schools, they know that you have talent and they'll get it out of you. So again, I'm just talking generically because I don't know Trent. I don't know his family. I'm just saying that with AAU basketball being where it is, and the amount of competition you get in that now in the spring, summer, and if you want the fall, you don't have to necessarily sacrifice everything you just talked about. in order to get great competition at the prep school level. Competition is the least of your concerns in a high school season, in terms of like you have to play against great players. You're, like I said, you get that in the summer, and you're getting every best kid in the country on the floor with you. You're getting plenty of that in the spring and summer. So if you are getting skill development and team development and that, like I talked about before, that opportunity to become the guy, I think all of that is plenty for any young prospect.
Yeah, I think that, again, not using even Trent here, but anybody that's in this position, I do think they're going to get a much higher challenge of playing at a championship level more frequently, and the coaching. Like you said, Kevin Boyle he's a multi-time national champion. That means he has great talent, but you have to guide that talent. He doesn't have the 5 best guys in the country every year. There are other programs, IMG, Lalamere, all these other prep schools. So I think it's also, he's looking at individual development from a year-round standpoint. And I mean, I don't disagree with what he's doing. I completely understand it. I hate to see it, but it is what it is, and it's just part of where we're evolving to, part of the sport evolving. And I say it doesn't. I'm not necessarily saying it's a good thing. It just is what it is.
I'm saying that I don't think it's a good thing. I think the evidence is showing it's not. I think that we have seen a decline in American basketball talent development since this became the trend. I think in the last 10 years, we have seen a significant decline. We still produce a lot of players, but we don't produce the level of players that we once did. There used to be an elite player in almost every draft. And now you go through each of the last 2 years and you go, where is it? I mean, it's just not there. It's become a very disappointing element of American basketball, how the talent development system has gone off the rails. And what's interesting is instead of just saying, well, look what we used to do, and didn't that work? We're saying, well, the Europeans do it better, so we should do what they do. Well, it's not like they're producing great volumes of players. It's not like they're having consistent success with their youth development teams, or else the United States U17 teams wouldn't be winning by an average of 60 points a game, which they are right now. They just won their 3rd game. Their average margin of victory in the pool play was 60 points. So it's not like we're not developing players, but we're not at that crucial stage, which is that 17, 18, 19 stage. We're not getting them from promising to accomplished, or promising to elite prospect. It's not that threshold has been difficult to breach over the last decade or so. And I still think that the biggest change in that time has been the development of this elite prep school network that plays against one another. And I just don't see the same level of player coming out that we used to have.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and thank you for enjoying our content and videos. And make sure you hit that subscribe and notifications toggle so you don't miss out on anything, whether it's Indiana Hoosiers, the Boilers, the Colts, the Pacers, Indiana high school action, whatever's happening in sports. We're trying to bring it all to you, and make sure you don't miss out on a thing. Again, hit the subscribe button for us. Helps us out a ton. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much.